Hi kids, we're about to answer the question, what are adjectives? They're a pretty cool part of speech, so stick around and see all the cool ways you can use them. This is the foldable that I'm going to be using in this activity. If you don't have it, you can click the link in the description box below and go grab yourself a copy. Otherwise, you can just stick around and see what you learn. If you do have it, you're going to go ahead and cut out around this black box, all the way around this rectangle right here. Don't cut out any of these dotted lines or the inner lines. Then you're going to cut out around this dotted dashed line. This is going to be your title. Then over here on this sheet, you're just going to cut all of these little pieces out. So I suggest cutting around the box, then cutting it into strips, and then cutting them out one by one. And when you get done with that, you can catch back up and we'll see how to put this together. Go ahead and pause the video and get it cut out. Okay, we're ready to put our foldable together. This line right here, you're going to fold backwards on that black line and then fold it forwards. And then you're going to turn it around and you're going to do the same thing on this other side. Fold backwards so you can see the black line and then fold forwards. Then when we get ready to glue, you're going to flip it over and you're only going to put glue down this center strip. So just put a good amount of glue on that center, turn it over and position it, and then just smooth it out. The side flaps should open up easily and not be stuck. Then you're going to turn it sideways and you're just going to snip on each dotted line. Then you're going to turn it around the other way and you're going to snip the dotted lines on the other side. Now the last thing we're going to do is put some glue on the title and stick that up at the top there. So now if you're not finished, go ahead and pause the video so you can catch up. An adjective describes a noun by telling how it looks, tastes, feels, sounds, smells, or acts. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. So it describes how it looks. So here we've got some fireworks. Well, the fuse is looking sparkly. The colors are bright. It's very colorful. So it's describing what it looks like. So this could have to do with size, like big or small, tall or short, but it's just describing what it looks like. Okay, this one is saying that it describes how it feels. That's how it feels when you touch it. So the leaves of a palm tree would feel smooth. The bark of the palm tree would feel very rough or bumpy. So you're going to be thinking about touching things and how it feels. Like, what would a snake feel like if you touched it? What would a kitten feel like if you touched it? Those are adjectives that describe how a noun feels. Okay, and it can also describe how it acts. So like this clown might be acting silly, might be acting happy, might be acting funny. And you know what? Kids can act that way too. It doesn't have to be a clown. It could be a person. It could be your mom and dad. So it's just describing how they are behaving or acting. All right, adjectives can also describe how something tastes. Now we've got some popcorn here. It's gonna taste buttery, it's gonna taste salty, and it's gonna taste yummy. Do you think it could taste crunchy? No, it would feel crunchy, but crunchy isn't a flavor. So, and yummy isn't giving us a lot of information, but still I can think of something being yummy as being really good and tasty. Salty, buttery, I can think of all of those and already start to kind of taste it. Like, oh, that'd be so good to have some popcorn, but crunchy doesn't tell me a flavor. So you've got to be careful when you're thinking about flavors versus how it feels. Adjectives can also describe sounds. So here we've got this little saxophone. Well, I could say that it sounds musical. It sounds very loud. It sounds pretty. So something could look pretty, but you know what? It could sound pretty too. So it could actually have like a pretty sound to it. Now, if I picked up a saxophone and just started blowing into it and pushing some buttons and I have no idea how to play, do you think it would sound very pretty? No, it wouldn't sound pretty at all. It would sound awful. So then we could put the adjective awful and we could say her playing sounded awful, because it would. Okay, adjectives also describe how it smells. Now, it's a little tricky to tell the difference between smells and tastes when you're talking about adjectives. So a lot of times we'll just put those together and say smell or taste. But I was trying to come up with things that were just smells. Now, if you go outside on a spring day after a rain, everything smells clean and it smells fresh. If you were in a pine forest, it would smell piney, like when you have Christmas, if it's a piney smell, or it could just smell woodsy. It just has that earthy kind of smell, but sometimes those smells are kind of hard to describe. So really think about it. whenever you are sorting these words, and really think about, is this how it feels when I touch it? Is it how it looks? And remember, that could be size, or it could just be like how big it is, how small it is, or how attractive it is. Think about taste. Is this actually a flavor that you could taste and not just a feeling of it in your mouth? Think about how a person or an animal could be acting, and think about sounds. So you might even think of some sound words. There might be some sound words in here. And smell. So the tricky ones are going to be between taste and smell a lot too. So really think about, is this a smell or is this a flavor that I would want to put in my mouth? So just think about it. So you're just going to pick these up one at a time, and you're just going to lay it down where you think it goes. You're just going to pick it up and lay it. Don't glue it yet. You can pause the video, sort all of these out, and then unpause it, and I'll go over them with you, and you can see if you got it right. All right, you can pause right now. Okay, we're ready to actually go over these now. So we are going to just do them one at a time. We're going to pick one up and just see where we think it goes. This one says sticky. Now, do you think that's how it looks, feels, acts, tastes, sounds, or smells? Yeah, that's going to be how it feels. So maybe someone spilled syrup on the table and now it's really sticky. Okay, here's another one. Nice. Like, that girl is really nice. We're describing how she acts. Now, you could say something looks nice too, but I always think of nice as describing a person or maybe even an animal. So we're going to put it under act. Okay, how about this one? Sour. That is definitely a taste. I think about like getting some lemon in my mouth without any sugar for the lemonade. It would be very, very sour. How about this one? Stinky. Ooh, that is definitely describing how it smells. Maybe you could say, ooh, the dog is really stinky. So that adjective is giving you more information about the noun dog. So it's describing how it smells. How about this one? Hairy. Now this one, I can actually picture someone who's really hairy, but you could think, well, you could feel it and feel that it's hairy, but probably if it's a dog, we know it's covered in hair. So I'm thinking about like maybe describing a person that's got a lot of hair, and I'm saying they're hairy or they look hairy. To me, it's describing how they look, but if you put it under how it feels, that works too. How about thankful? If you gave a present to your teacher and she smiled and she gave you a big hug and she took a picture with you in the present, you would be able to tell that she is very thankful. That's how she's acting. She's letting you know that she appreciated it. How about booming? Like the fireworks were booming outside my window all night. That's not telling me what they looked like, but it's definitely telling me how they sounded, and maybe it was keeping me up. Slick. Maybe your sidewalk is really wet and slick because of all the rain, so you don't want someone to slip and fall. That's how it feels, like your shoes can't get a grip on it because it's wet. So it feels slick. Gigantic. I'm thinking of a gigantic horse. Huge. So that is telling me the size. So that gives me a picture in my head of how big this animal is. So that's what it looks like, because I can make a picture of the size of that animal in my head. Silent. Well, silent is definitely describing the sound, right? There's not any. Maybe I went downstairs and it was just at night and it was just completely silent in the house. There was no noise at all. Spicy. I ate some tacos and my mom had put salsa on them, and I thought my mouth was gonna light on fire because it was so spicy. So that is described, I mean, I guess we could say it's burning, so that describes how it feels. I always think of it as a taste, but if you put it under feel, that makes sense too. But I think of spicy as a flavor. Okay, here's another one. Smart. Carlos is so smart. He always gets all the answers right on his test. Well, that's describing how he is or how he acts. So we're gonna put it down here under acts. Burnt. Mom burnt the cookies and the whole house smells. So we could definitely put that under smell because you would probably smell it first, but you could put it under taste because you could be eating a cookie and spit it out and say, oh, this is awful. It tastes burnt. It's like charcoal. So it could go under either one. Squeaky. Somebody needs to fix the door because it is so squeaky every time we open it. So that's a sound. Clumsy. My little brother is so clumsy, he trips over his own feet. That's describing how he acts or how he does things. Falls down a lot. That was actually me when I was a kid. I was clumsy. All right, here's another one. Fluffy. My baby kitten is so fluffy and soft. I love petting her. That describes how she feels. Flowery. If you were walking through a field of flowers, well, you could definitely see the flowers, but flowery doesn't describe what they look like. It doesn't tell me their colors or what type of flower it is, but it would describe the smell that's in the air. I would get this wonderful smell of flowers. And that wouldn't be a taste. I wouldn't want to taste the flowers, but I would definitely be able to smell their fragrance. So I'm going to put it under smell. How about this one? Blue. Well, blue is a color, and I can't taste a color, I can't feel a color, I can't hear a color, but I can definitely see a color, so it's describing how something looks. So colors describe how things look as well. Grumpy. My grandpa sometimes gets really grumpy when his team doesn't win the football game. So grumpy is how he acts when he's bummed about that. So we're going to put it under act. Quiet. The little girl is so quiet, I can hardly hear what she says. It's describing sound. Sweet. My ice cream was so sweet, I couldn't even finish the bowl. That probably never happened to me, but sweet is definitely a taste or a flavor. Bumpy. I touched the turtle's back and it was very bumpy. So it describes how it feels. Tiny. The ants are so tiny. I don't know how they build such big ant mounds, but that is describing what they look like because they're very small. Rotten. I opened the trash can and immediately there was this rotten stench coming from it. So rotten is a smell. You would definitely know if something in the fridge was rotten. You'd smell it probably even before you saw it in there, and you know you needed to find it and get it out of there. Spotted. What about a cheetah that is spotted? It's got spots all over it. That describes how it looks, right? Kind. Mrs. Smith is so kind. That describes how she acts and how she treats us. Tangy. When I think of tangy, I think of something like barbecue sauce because it's got some sourness to it, but it's also got some sweetness, so it kind of balances it out. But that's what tangy is. I think of like a dressing or a sauce of some kind. Well, it's definitely a flavor, so it goes under taste. Noisy. The dogs outside my neighbor's house are so noisy. That's describing the sound. Cold. Martha was so cold inside the house. She had to put a jacket on. That's describing how she's feeling. It feels cold to her in the house. Earthy. Now you might not have known what this meant, but when I think of something earthy, I'm thinking of like mushrooms that grow in dirt, and I'm thinking of like leaves at the base of trees that are kind of starting to decompose. And it's not a bad smell. It's not like rotten food or anything stinky, but it just smells like dirt and earth. It's just an earthy smell. Great job getting all of those sorted. You can pause the video here so that you can check these and make sure they're all in the right spot, and then go ahead and glue them down. All right, now if you've got a few minutes, you can go ahead and color the picture. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Check out the links in the description box below for more grammar videos and activities. I'll see you next time.